Hey there, today we're going to be talking about the top 25 things you can do to lead generate for a realtor right after this. Hey there, you guys. Welcome back. I'm Jaylee Thompson with Texel Real Estate and Real Estate Reformation, here with my lovely co-host.
And I'm Kristen Gerst with Capricorn Mortgage.
And today we're talking about the top 25 things you can do as a realtor to generate leads. And what are these leads? We're talking about listings and buyers. So
to find either or.
Either or, because either one makes you money, right?
But listings are gold right now.
Listings are gold. Yeah, they're a lot less work, a whole lot less work. I have agents constantly asking, do you provide leads? Do you do this? Do you do that? And while I know some brokers say that they do, typically you're not going to find anybody that's providing leads without actually you paying a cost. You're going to have to pay for something unless you get on a team and that team is buying leads and providing leads and you're the buyer's agent. But even then, you're paying because you're paying a larger portion of your commission.
And rightly so.
Yeah. If somebody's just giving it to you, then yes, you're going to pay more.
I love this because I don't think your average newbie realtor that's out there knows that there are ways that they can go and find a way to have a listing.
Well, and some of this is super common sense. Like, it kind of baffles me a little bit, and I get it because I was there. I remember just flailing my first couple of years going, where do these come from? Like, I need more phone time. I don't know what to do
I want to answer the phones. Which sounds...
Well, and back then, because it wasn't all internet based, people were just calling off a sign. So you wanted that phone time. So maybe you could pick up that phone call and answer questions about a property, blah, blah, blah. Well, phone time's almost null and void at this point. Like hardly anybody does that. Well, because nobody calls off signs anymore.
Right.
They do but it's such a small percentage at this point.
Well, and all realtors have their own cell phones. So it's not like it's coming into the office and somebody's got to be manning that phone.
Exactly. Whereas it used to come into the office. So one of the first things, door knocking.
How does this work? Are there realtors who are out there doing this? I know it works for wholesalers.
It definitely works for wholesalers, but it works for realtors too. And especially like the easiest way to door knock is to kind of combine it with something else. Like I'm going to do an open house down the street from you. So now I'm going to do 6 doors on each side of that open house. I'm going to door knock, make sure that they know that I'm doing an open house on such and such day. If you're curious or if you know somebody who'd like to sell or is looking to buy in this neighborhood, invite your friends and family. I'll be doing it. And then 12 houses across the street. So just try to hit, it can be 4 and 4. It can be 3 and 3, 3, 6. Just get at least the neighbors on board and aware that you're going to be doing an open house there. Or if you're in a neighborhood and you've just shown a house, they didn't like that house, but your clients really like this neighborhood. Or you make up that story and say, my clients really like this neighborhood. I'm going to knock on a few doors and see if you know of anybody that's selling in this neighborhood because I have clients.
Or thinking about selling.
Yeah, or thinking about selling. So any of those type of conversations work. They're a little, especially if you don't have a client and you're just going in, then yeah, it's a little sneaky, but it's not like you have ulterior motives other than I'm going to want to list a house. Right. Would you be interested? Obviously, you see how hard I'm working. I'm going around knocking on doors, So knocking on doors does work, and especially whenever you've got a client that you're working with or you're doing an open house. Because the door knocking we also do in the roofing business. If you're doing a roof, make sure you tell everybody around you, we're doing this roof.
I think door knocking and roofing is illegal now.
Oh.
Is it really?
I'm not a lawyer, but I've heard the past year, 2 years, there's been a lot of rumbling in the roofing space because the way they can market has been like not cut in half, but almost like completely destroyed.
I'll have to look into that because there's so many. Like I just had a window person come to my door. Yeah.
I'm just saying, I again, I'm not a lawyer, but I believe in the state of Texas, it's not
kosher. I live in an older neighborhood, so somebody's always doing some windows or roof after a hailstorm. I mean, that's
a given.
It's a given, and somebody will be knocking on my door.
Yep. So then the other one is cold calling, also another favorite for wholesalers.
How do you know who to cold call that might be interested in selling a house? How do you get that list?
So you might do the same thing as what wholesalers do is I'm going to buy a list. I'm going to see who might be in jeopardy. If you don't know how to scrape for that data, then get with somebody who's selling a list. But the cold calling can also be as simple as, this is my neighborhood. I live here. I'd like to sell in my neighborhood so I don't have to travel really far. So I'm calling all of my neighbors saying, hey, I'm your local realtor right here in your neighborhood. If you're thinking about selling or you know somebody who is, give me a call. You know, I'm here. If you have any questions about real estate, I'm right here in your neighborhood. I can answer all your questions and try to be the neighborhood expert. Or if there's a neighborhood you'd like to get into, then figure out what your angle is to start calling in that neighborhood.
I just thought of an idea.
Yeah.
And anybody on this video can steal it or borrow it. What's the average time nowadays that people stay in a household?
I think that varies, but I think it's
5
to 7. It's always been 5 to 7.
So could you go back 5 to 7 years and pull all the new house, like the housing transaction data, pull that list of people that bought a house 5-7 years ago, skip trace that list, and then call them and be like, hey.
Yeah.
Because then, because if the national average is 5 to 7 years, well, chances are they're probably looking.
Exactly.
Or thinking
You're
about
welcome.
They're thinking about
Well,
selling
and that's the thing is that I don't feel like realtors get as creative as wholesalers, and that's where they're missing out. Is get creative, do a little bit more recon work to find those leads.
Well, just because you're a wholesaler does not mean you're a realtor or went to real estate school or anything.
Yeah.
So inherently, they're going to be a little more creative, thinking outside the box. And I have a pretty good suspicion that they don't teach realtors this.
No, they do, like every broker's different of like, this is how you go out. Make sure you're wearing your name tag. Make sure you have your magnetics on your car. Those are very, very passive ways for somebody to ask you a question in the grocery line or whatever. But that depends on somebody else coming to you.
Right.
And what realtors are not used to doing is making it more of proactive to where they're actually doing the action rather than expecting the action to come to them, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
And the other one is they've been preaching FSBOs forever. So FSBOs, and then the other one being FRBOs, which is the for rent by owner, because that's a lead as well, you know?
Absolutely. So as far as FSBOs, realtors need to know if it says I'm not going to hire a realtor in bold print in that listing, they need to know not to contact that person.
Absolutely.
I've had a FSBO listing, and I just don't even respond if I get a text message or an unsolicited phone call going, I'd really like to list your property. I just block.
Well, and also let's say that you've got a FSBO that you're contacting, and they've said I don't want to work with I'm not working with a realtor. If you're not working with a realtor, but let's say you have a buyer, don't let that stop you.
If you have a buyer,
do not contact them and try to list the property if they are clearly stating they have no interest in listing the property with you or with any realtor.
Also, don't lie.
Yep.
And when it actually gets down to it, they don't have anybody to show the property to.
Yep.
They're just trying to get the listing.
Because I've pulled that one before.
Waste people's time.
But I pulled that one before when they didn't have anything saying I won't work with a realtor.
Right. I had it in bold. And it's one thing if it's a mom and a pop and they just think that they could do it better, which they can't.
Yep.
You know, if it's somebody who has, in my case, like 16, 17 years experience buying and selling houses, you know,
Yeah.
you waste my time. It's going to irritate me.
Yeah, you're going to get blocked. Or you're going to get a no, or maybe you'll get a little cussed out. So, you know, go ahead and put on your thick skin.
Yeah, get some thick skin.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then the for rent by owners are also important, because the for rent by owners, then you're talking about either investors, or it could be a mom and pop. Maybe they moved away and then they decided to rent their, you know, whatever the case may be. Maybe they're done renting. They don't want it. They don't want the hassle anymore. But go ahead and reach out to them. I mean, there's no reason not to, unless they say in bold print.
Well, or they, you know, I bought something like a year ago because of this. He just couldn't. I'm like, this thing has been for rent for 4 months. I'm like, 4 months it's been vacant, because I just kept seeing the ad for rent pop up. I'm like, that's strange. What's wrong?
Why would it be?
I go, what's wrong with this property?
Yep.
You know, and so I went over and I saw it, and I'm like, all right, it's kind of jacked up a little bit.
But still,
I'm like, do you want to sell it? And they're like, yes, because, you know, they knew that this could go on for a while, and maybe they were never going to rent it.
Some people just are not made to be landlords. You know,
well,
I mean,
if it takes you that long to rent a property in this market, you're not doing something right.
So the sixth one would be expireds.
I love expired listings.
Yeah. And if you don't, as a realtor, if you don't already know what expireds are, basically that's when something's been listed and now it was on the market too long and it's expired. The listing agent is now gone or fired. And it's just, they may still have an interest in selling.
I also like going and seeing rentals from maybe 8 months or 9 months ago, and going back to those, seeing when things say that they leased.
Yep.
And that way, usually you need about 60 days to renew your lease. But if you go in about 8 or 9 months, there's a good chance if they are looking to sell and you contact them going, hey, yeah, I want to sell, they're going to be moving out, go, great, hey, let's do this and we'll put it on the market, you know, as soon as they're moving out.
Absolutely.
But at least then you can get them to sign with you.
And you're ahead of the game.
Right.
Yep.
And then they can give notice at 90 days saying, hey, we're not going to be renewing your lease.
Absolutely.
We're going to sell this.
Yeah, that's a great tactic. Absolutely. But expireds is, I would say that one's one of the most common. Between that and FSBOs, those are the two most common that other agents do. Right now, I can imagine the expireds are getting beat up because of the shortage of housing.
So, and here's a question. If you're a realtor and you want that business, because you're right, it is probably getting beat up, do you have to be able to know why something didn't sell?
Most likely you've done your due diligence before you've made that phone call, or hopefully you've done your due diligence of, was it priced right? What does it look like inside? What's the neighborhood? Why didn't it sell, especially in this market? Like, you know, it's
Everything's
different.
selling.
Everything's selling, and it's selling within days. So why didn't it? And a lot of times what ends up happening is the expireds are a stubborn seller that decided, this is how much I want for my property, this is how much I'm going to get, this is what it's worth, and then it doesn't sell. Even in this market, when people are bidding over, it's still got to be priced right. And it didn't sell, and now they've been beat down, and it expired. They don't have it listed anymore. Now they're a little bit more humbled, and they're going to go, okay, well, maybe you know what you're doing.
I know of one house in particular like this. I have been to the open house 3 times with 3 different realtors over the last 2 years.
Wow.
And it has been overpriced by $500,000 every time, even going up. So like every 6 months, this guy will relist, and you walk into it, and it's awful. It's not awful. It's very ostentatious. It's very gaudy. And it's
very specific to someone's taste.
with me saying that, do
Yeah.
you have any idea how gaudy this thing is?
What are you trying to say,
mean,
Kristen?
Let's just be, let's just be fair.
You have to be and I can't talk, but just remember, it's coming from her.
I know.
Yeah,
So
so
if
it's
she's saying it's gaudy.
yeah, it's gotta be.
That's like Trump saying something about
It has
there's
too much gold.
Too much gold. Too much
Too
gold.
much gold in here.
Yeah.
And I, at first I didn't understand what she was talking about. She was like, we understand that maybe you need a budget to maybe redo some of the moldings and the woodwork instead. And I was like, oh, okay. So there's a rehab budget. I'm like, I know this thing has been gutted and redone
Yeah.
to the studs. Then you see it and you're like, oh, I'm like, does Liberace live here?
Yeah. Apparently.
Who designed
Not anymore.
this?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was even too much for me.
Yeah.
So
But the expireds are, a great place to go as far as trying to pick up a new listing. So,
or canceled.
or canceled. Canceled typically ends up being like, I'm canceling it and I'm going to relist it. I'm trying to reset the days. Sometimes it means, okay, I decided against it. But yeah, expireds and
Rarely, if somebody has something on the market on MLS, they are leaving their house for showings. They don't all of a sudden go, I want to live here for the rest of my life.
yeah. Yep.
Or, sometimes they rent it, which is why that listing gets canceled.
True.
So you might have to wait out that lease, but
Then they might be ready to rent or to sell in a year. Like you said, contact them 8 months later. Put it on your CRM. Contact this address and this homeowner in 8 months.
love it.
And so one of the things that gets preached quite a bit, especially if you join a big broker, is work your sphere. And one of them is past coworkers. If you're just now coming into this field and you just left, an industry, I worked for Frito-Lay or I worked for, whatever, Amazon. You worked with people.
Right.
And now you're in an industry where you can sell them something or you can help them get into something. So you might as well reach out to those former coworkers.
I give realtor work to the realtors I like.
Yep.
I have to like you.
Yeah.
If I don't like you and you're kind of a jerk, or I don't know you very well, no.
Yeah, or just some rando and I don't want to.
You're not going to, you're selling something for me right now.
Yeah.
Doing an awesome job.
Oh, thanks. High five.
High five. Got like the worst luck with it, but
whatever. So anyway, go ahead, reach out to your past coworkers.
Former coworkers.
It's not, you're not infringing on anything. You're not being too pushy. And that's what a lot of new realtors are worried about is I'm being too pushy.
So are these realtors, have they left their former job?
Most of them do. I know there's a ton of realtors that go ahead and they do part-time.
Right.
They usually figure out pretty quickly that part-time, it's really hard to do
Oh, God.
this job part-time.
Right.
So they either figure it out and leave their job or they try to do as much as possible so that they can leave their job. But typically when people come into real estate, they tend to this is what they're doing.
Right.
I'm going wholeheartedly, and if they fail in 3 months, then they're back at their regular job. So, social media.
I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, you would think. But I don't know how many times I have to tell agents that use your social media to sell yourself. And that doesn't mean just walking through and going, here's a tour of a house I'm touring today. No, engage with people, engage in groups, engage.
So this is how I found a realtor for Chicago. Mm-hmm. I thought I was just going to maybe work with somebody who I went to high school with. Mm-hmm. That didn't pan out. And I was like, all right. So I got on just one of the Chicagoland real estate investor groups that I'm in. And I said, hey, I'm looking for a realtor in Chicago. Somebody who's got some investment experience would be great. And the guy that contacted me, such a great guy.
Awesome.
He asked all the right questions. He showed me stuff that I would have never looked at. He taught me some of the new things that the city was offering. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy
knows his stuff.
And he is fine. and he hasn't been doing it that long.
Yep.
But I loved it because he was hungry.
And sometimes that's the best one to get, because I know that was one of the things that I was super worried about and super self-conscious about when I first started in real estate is I don't have the experience. I don't have the experience. They're going to go with somebody more experienced. I don't want to sound dumb, so dive deep into getting that education, read as much as you possibly can about what's going on locally so that you can become an expert, but just educating yourself and then leaning really hard on your team. So when you're presenting yourself, you're not presenting just me. It's, hey, if I don't know, my broker and all of my associates have 30 years worth of experience that I can go to, and it's at my fingertips. So let's get this done and be super hungry.
And not overly pushy.
Yeah.
I also find that I get turned off really fast when they're arrogant and basically telling me what I have to do and all.
Yeah, it's a read the room.
Yeah,
read the room.
I'm not interested in that. But if you ask me questions and I answer and they go, okay, well, I'd like you to go look at this. Not that this is what you have to buy or this is what you have to do, but just going, yeah, I want you to come look at this with me.
Well, and showing you those opportunities or those little niche markets that maybe you weren't aware of. I mean, I've got one agent in particular, and if his clients want to see one house, he never shows one. It's always at least 3.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I know you didn't have these 2 on your radar, but let's look at them just so you know for sure. Because sometimes, just like when you go into a house and you think, oh my goodness, the pictures were awesome and this house looks tiny. What the heck happened? Well, sometimes it's exactly opposite. The pictures are horrible. It doesn't give you, it doesn't appeal whatsoever. And you get in there and you go, the bones are great. It needs a coat of paint.
I found one property and I was like, this is it. The neighborhood's awesome. I'm on like Google Street Maps. I'm like, it's everything that I want. And you get there and the L train in Chicago is running
right
literally with
outside
like,
the window.
I could open up the window and touch the train. It was that close. And I'm like, okay, this is a no. This is like a real no. And like there was no parking in back because it's underneath the train tracks and you're not allowed to park underneath. I'm like, so there's no parking. It's basically, there's nothing.
Yeah, that's an issue.
And it looked like it was built in 1881 and looked it. It looked like something that survived the Great Chicago Fire.
Well,
and just
there's a
never
lot
got
of those
torn
up
down.
there.
I was like,
there's a lot
okay.
of those. Just it needed some love.
But
We've
I would have
seen it.
sworn to you that was the one, And so then we went and saw the stuff that he thought that I should look at, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so much better.
Yep.
So again, the right realtor asking the right questions
exactly
is going to get the sale.
Another one that is more traditional marketing. That one you don't use as much just because people don't access as much. Like it used to be the phone book. It used to be the newspaper. Now it's like magazines. There are certain magazines like D Magazine you can do some really great advertisements in. Trade rags, anything that's real estate investor related, you might want to put something in. Obviously TV ads, but then we're talking TV and billboard. Those are traditional, but they're really pricey. So if you're just trying to throw some money at it, you've got money to burn, then maybe, but I would still say that all the rest of them are way better than those.
I just want to throw in a point. Like if you are a new realtor and you just went through an education system, a class, whatever, you just have to remember that when it comes to education of any point, the educational classes are always last to implement the information that's already out there.
Yeah.
So like if they probably just started teaching in the champion school how to use social media, if at all.
Exactly.
But, so you're, to your point about traditional marketing or traditional, yes, it's valid and still works, but is it the most efficient?
Exactly. Is it the most efficient? Is it the most cost effective?
Yeah. So to my point, all I'm saying is like if whatever is being taught in your new class, grain of salt, jump on YouTube and maybe watch some Diva episodes.
Hey!
to see how it's really been done.
To see how it's really done. Well, and number 10 would be open houses. So open houses, most homeowners have a different perception of what open houses are. They feel like the open houses that's for them. That's so that they get more clients or more buyers.
Believed it.
More buyers are going to put in offers because I had an open house. That is not the purpose of open houses, and it's typically not the way that houses get sold. Sometimes it does happen, but very seldom is it. I mean, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's fairly low of getting your offer at an open house.
But if you are a realtor and you're trying to get leads, offer to do
an open house.
An open house for anybody.
Anyone in your office, anyone outside your office, do an open house because that's where you're going to pick up buyers. Granted, a lot of people are going to come through there and go, oh, I already have a realtor, but a lot of them don't.
Right.
They're just getting started. They're afraid to reach out. I don't know if I'm ready yet, blah, 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 blah. That's a way to start a conversation.
Or there's somebody like me who, I have no concrete agreement with anybody. Do you know how many open houses I go to?
Yeah.
I go to tons.
Yeah.
I love them. I think they're fun. I like just walking around houses and looking at them.
I'm browsing.
I like to see, hey, what's for sale? Is that a great bathroom idea?
Whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's people like you, it's people that are coming in and they're a little apprehensive about making that jump and just creating that connection and getting that contact and following up with them.
Well, and maybe, and also just talking to them and asking, okay, so maybe this isn't everything you're looking for. What is it missing that you need in a house?
Exactly.
And going,
because chances are you're not selling them that house.
No, you're selling them a house that's maybe
further on down the line,
2 blocks away,
yeah.
or it hasn't come up yet, and go, you know what? I think I know the perfect house for you.
Yep. Open houses are a great way to pick up buyer clients. Great way. And it's underused most of the time by agents because they know that they got to work on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon. And that's the fact. And if you're going to schedule an open house, try in Texas, at least in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, don't do it during a Cowboy game.
Wait.
It's going to be the slowest open house ever.
Are you alluding to agents being lazy?
Well, I'm not saying lazy. I'm just saying like there's some work to be put in, and
it's hard. There's brunch.
There's
brunch on Saturday and Sunday here in Dallas, and you would miss brunch.
Or the gala at the evening.
Yes. Yeah,
There's lots of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff.
The producer in the back has a high opinion of realtors.
Of this one.
What?
Did you just go silent on me? Oh my God.
That was like,
wow.
ouch.
I think
That
this
was
is my last
cold.
episode here.
That was cold. Wow.
Yeah, what you got?
Nothing.
All right. We'll talk later.
I don't think they'll be talking. I think it'll be a lot of beating up.
Yeah.
Worth it.
Oh my gosh. The other open houses that I suggest is builder open houses. Like builders don't have, typically they have open houses in some subdivisions that maybe they're phasing out that one, but they still have 5 houses that they need to get sold over there. They need someone to man that open house. Whereas their salespeople, now they've moved to a totally new subdivision, right? Well, hey, can I work those? Or do you have several model homes? I can sit in another one and somebody walks in and I can just talk to them about it. And you are able to work these builder open houses. Builders are okay with it.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
Because they're thinking, oh, this is for me. Look.
Yeah, I mean, they're completely okay with it.
This is going to help sell these houses faster. So
yeah, absolutely. Because you can ask them questions. You can give them their pitch. They don't have to pay you to do it unless you sell a house, right? And most of the time, people are kicking tires. I want to see some new houses. Do you know of any other new house subdivisions? Blah, blah, blah. You can give them all of this information and make yourself the go-to person. Get their email, get their phone number, and follow up. Builder open houses are amazing. And building those relationships with those builders as well. because they don't always want to pay one of their salespeople to be in that subdivision, especially if it's a small one.
And if they can get somebody there doing it for free.
For free, yeah. Yeah, they'll end up paying you a commission, maybe, but if you
They're basically going to do that anyways.
Yeah, they're going to do that anyway. It doesn't matter who brings in the deal. They're going to do that anyway. So definitely go and check out your builders. Build those relationships with them and see if there's any model homes that you can sit on the weekends, to be clear.
All right. I love this next one.
Yeah.
Purchase leads.
I
didn't even know you can purchase leads from Zillow.
Yeah.
They're not using them anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, Zillow's not using any of those leads anymore.
Right.
But yeah, you can purchase them. You can set up kind of a purchase agreement. They solicit it to realtors in different areas all over the country. So Zillow, Realtor.com, there's several industries out there that, basically are search engines that are gathering people's information who are searching for homes in certain areas. So then you're purchasing those leads, but you've got to, if you're purchasing them, follow up with them. Like freaking follow up with them, people. I don't know how many people get these lead lists and they don't work their way through them.
Yeah, or they just let it sit there. Oh, I'll get to that next week. I'll cold call next week.
Well, I think a lot of that, it goes to the fact that most people, like salespeople, they forget the job is to get a lead or get a deal or get a contract. And instead, the goal is to get through the list.
Exactly.
Which is not good.
You don't want to power through the list. You're trying to get that lead. So make sure that you're smiling when you're talking on the telephone, because your smile, they can hear that. Because when you're smiling, you're talking a different way. You have a different inflections. You have,
I love
different
that.
tone.
That is the tip of the day. Live it.
Tip of the day is when you're on the telephone and you're trying to build that relationship to get that lead, smile.
God, that's
that
simple.
smile will come through in your voice and in your tone. So, tip of the day.
Sometimes you don't feel like it, but smile, and maybe that'll help you have a little more fun while you're doing it.
Exactly, and not be so salesy. Another one is lender referrals. Building those relationships with lenders, because a lot of people call their lender first. They're shopping around, they're trying to find the right lender. What am I approved for? And then they're going to go out and shop, now that I know what I'm approved for. So if you can build those relationships with those lenders and get on their referral list, then they can refer you buyers.
Right.
And that's all boils down to the networking that we talk about all the frickin' time. Number 14 is one that I heard when I first got into real estate, and it was basically work your sphere of influence. Your sphere of influence is your friends, your family, everybody that you know. Let them know that you're a realtor. If you're not letting people know you're a realtor, then Keller Williams used to call it being an undercover realtor. Nobody knows what you do, and you're not going to get any leads from anybody because they don't know what the heck you do. And they also say that it takes 7 times, repeating it 7 times to somebody of what you do for a living before it actually registers. So just remember that when you're putting it out there. I had a friend of mine that probably for the first 3 years I was in real estate asked me every time she saw me, so when are you going to be done with your classes? I'm like, what? I'm active. Like I'm just doing this. Like I go to other classes to learn more. If I've got the time, I'm taking classes, but I've got my license, but that was also on me for not putting it out there and putting it out there enough times.
Speaking of which, I'm still single.
Oh, way to put that out there.
Way to put that out there, so we know
very
that.
Very timely.
Very timely. Yeah. Well done.
No, but on that note, it's so true, because like you were alluding to it earlier in the tips, but like you got to tell everybody. Like if you're at the shopping, you're at the Walmart, you're at Target, whoever you're talking to. By the way, I'm a realtor. By the way, I'm a real estate investor.
Yeah.
Because the biggest sting, from what I've been told, is when you're a realtor and your mom uses a different realtor because they didn't remember you were a realtor.
Yeah, or your cousin or your best friend's sister, whoever. And it happens to all of us. Like all of us get get in that trap.
It happened when I was in Chicago. One of
Yeah.
my very, very good friends let me know. She goes, "Oh my gosh, I saw you're out looking at property. I just got my real estate license." And I'm like, "How did you not tell me about this? I talk to you all the time.
Yeah.
How did I not know that you were getting your real estate license?"
Yep. Well, I would say that definitely put it out there to as many people as possible. And then number 15 is networking. Not just real estate events. We want to network at, go.
And you and I have talked about this.
This is a baseline.
I use so many different things as networking events.
Absolutely.
So when you go to a real estate networking event, guess what? Everybody's a realtor and there's tons of people in it. When you go and you tell people that you're a realtor at, say, a charity event.
Totally different audience.
And there are no realtors there. You have your own captive audience.
Absolutely.
But also, what are you interested in? What's your hobby? Do you like fishing? Is there a fishing group that
and
you
that
go
one's
hang out
another
with?
one that is mentioned down below. But definitely the networking. The networking is
Networking.
key.
But yeah, networking, people only think that networking is all of these real estate events that we go
title,
to. But it's
title
not.
companies having a party, or your lenders having a party. Think outside the box. You're not pitching yourself to the other realtor.
Right.
They're not going to use you.
No.
So number 16 would be Chamber of Commerce. That one seems pretty old school, but it still works today.
So what do you do down at the Chamber of Commerce?
So Chamber of Commerce is, again, they have networking events, right? So they hold all these networking events. They also have seminars. If you become a member of the Chamber of Commerce, then you meet everybody else, that's a member of the Chamber of Commerce. They're usually business owners. They're usually local. They're in that.
What is Chamber of Commerce? Huh?
Exactly.
What I meant to say is, that's cool and all, but I don't think in 2022, or is it whatever?
2021. Yeah.
Because when I think Chamber of Commerce, I think my dad would do something like that.
Yep.
And I forget that I'm an adult now.
I'm
right.
So what is
It does.
I'm a member of the French American Chamber of Commerce here in Dallas, and I bet y'all didn't even know we had one of
But
those.
I see
Did
you as an
not.
adult.
Well, no, I'm not a grown-up. You know I'm not a grown-up.
But Chamber of Commerce is basically getting businesses together, business owners together to network, to help, whether it's advocate to the city for different policies, different programs, whatever the case may be. But it's an organization to bring business owners together. Most of those business owners are not going to be realtors. So get into your Chamber of Commerce. And so what if there's one? So what if there's two? It's not a room full of them.
Right.
So
And I think that's important.
Yep.
Networking can be a whole host of things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This next one, number 17, is one that I absolutely love. And one of my agents has had incredible success with this, and that is become a notary. Become a notary and then put it on your neighborhood, with the neighborhood app platform, and just say, hey, I'm your neighborhood notary. Who needs a notary? Who needs a mobile notary? Most likely people who are selling off cars, selling off stuff that they need a notary for, older people that don't want to have to go to the bank, but you end up getting to know your neighbors. And then as you're there in their living room, notarying.
Make sure and say, I'm a realtor too.
Exactly. And now you get to say, hey, I'm a realtor. I sell homes in this area. Oh, I see that you're, getting rid of quite a bit. Are you thinking about selling your house? You can. It makes for easy transition to start that conversation. And he has built a book of business on just getting his notary license.
Interesting.
It's a very kind of covert way of doing it, which I absolutely loved. And it comes in handy in real estate too.
Number 18, host a free seminar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a lunch and learn?
Yeah, like a lunch and learn, you can do that. You just host a free seminar. Let's say I do a first-time homebuyers seminar. So first-time homebuyers typically are younger people in the cash industry that don't know that they're qualified. So maybe I approach a restaurant or a bar and go, hey, can I come in and talk to your employees and just say, I'll come in and talk to them and tell them how they can get qualified to buy a house.
Strip clubs.
Strip clubs.
Cash only.
There you go. So wouldn't you know, Kristen rolls in with a strip club. So, in most of America, y'all don't have, this isn't quite as prevalent as it is in Texas, but it's a serious Texas thing.
Staying off that one.
Yeah, it's wise.
Come on. It's a strip club.
But a cash industry, any cash industries, that's just one example. You could go and talk about things, host a seminar, a free seminar at a retirement community in their clubhouse, bring in snacks and say, hey, I know y'all probably have, real estate that you might be considering passing on. This would be a good opportunity to solicit your services.
Very good.
So, there's just all different ways to look at that.
Something on that aspect as well is because downstairs here, because this is a co-working spot,
Absolutely.
And they were talking about doing networking events, and they were asking me, and I know this is part of the networking aspect, but there's probably tons of co-working centers out there that host events that you could be a part of and be like, hey, I can speak. Can I speak at your next event?
Absolutely.
So I don't know if you have a speaker, but that's kind of hand in hand with that the seminar aspect.
Absolutely.
So
I
being
love
speakers
that.
at
there's so many co-working industries out there right now anyway. So I love that tip.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're still getting beat up after this.
Number 19, monitor marriage and engagement announcements.
Yeah, so we're not talking about scrolling through the paper anymore, right? I'm not going through the Dallas Morning News and going to the engagement section or the marriage announcements. But yeah, I'm not doing that. But we're talking about hashtags. Hashtags on Instagram, hashtags, I said I do, I said yes, blah, 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 blah.
I like that.
And then now you're like, it's essentially the same thing, but I see that hashtag, or I'm going to go ahead and search that hashtag, and I'm going to go in there and go, hey, congratulations. Did you know, that your maybe first-time home buyer, if you're a first-time home buyer, blah, blah, blah. Or maybe you give them a tip about some sort of event center that does great weddings or a great caterer. You're giving them some sort of advice, but then you're also offering your service.
Right.
Of, are y'all thinking about buying a home?
And for everybody out there, if you think that giving away information for free doesn't bring you business, you're wrong. Look at us sitting here.
Yeah, it does. But that one seemed, to me, that one hit me a little bit different because I remember people used to, not only did they go through that, but they also went through the obituaries, and they, would look for those, that would be their lead generator. Well, now we've got social media, and you can still look up those things just a slightly different way.
Yeah, I love that. Especially just following hashtags, because that's easy.
That is so super easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So number 20 would be build out your website a little bit better. Maybe go ahead and do some blogs. Maybe put some of these links on there to information. And I'm guilty of this. I need to do this.
I need to do this so badly. And I'm almost to the point where I just need to go, okay, I'm not going to write these blogs, and I need to probably hire somebody just to do it.
And Fiverr, there's all kinds of services out there that will do it
Upwork.
and do it at a decent price. And it's worth it. If it drives people to your website, you're already paying to have it there.
Right.
So go ahead and do something with it and use it.
21, I love this. Create a Facebook group or meetup group. Amazingly, meetup.com, I have a meetup group on that. We haven't had a meeting in almost 2 years.
There will be no promotion of meetup.com in this studio.
Really?
I hate. Yeah. they stole our group when we were at Propelio, remember?
Yeah.
We built like a $400 or 500 member group, and then because Daniel wasn't active as the owner, they put it open. Hey, who wants to take over this group? And some rando took it over, and I was like,
give it back?
Nope, didn't give it back.
So
and then Meetup did nothing. So,
wow.
Sorry to interrupt, but
that's okay.
I have my convictions.
I still have it.
Because it takes forever to build those things up.
It does.
It does.
I'll
But
give it back
I
to
live
you.
it, especially because then Eventbrite, I was using Eventbrite with meetup.com for the group. I haven't had, and then there's a Facebook group that goes with all of that. I haven't had an active event since before COVID, so literally like 2 years ago. And I still get stuff that comes in off of all of that.
But meetup groups are pretty simple. Even if you just have like 30 or 40 members or even less, sometimes a smaller group is better because you get to build that relationship of, hey, I'm going to talk about this product that's out there, you know, that there's a conventional loan that has a lower threshold and that you can put down 3%, same as, or 3.5%, same as an FHA. Like these are things that you can educate, give away that free education, and people are going to come in there and know that you're giving value and you're building that relationship.
And to be clear, I'm not against meetups, only
Meetup.com.
Yes.
I currently have about 6 listings, 7 listings on Eventbrite.
It's unfortunate that a certain person, not you, Ryan, but a certain person did not stay current on. That's what happens.
That wasn't his fault. That was like because I was the one person. I was doing it.
Yeah.
So like the part of working with me is the turnkey. You could turn away and stop thinking about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's not on him. That's on Meetup.
That's on you. Yeah. Well, yeah.
And me. Yeah.
And yeah. Well.
So, and the Facebook groups work great as well. We all have seen that. Like somebody starts a Facebook group, DFW Investment Homes, blah, blah, blah. And
is that
then
the upside?
Grow.
That's the upside down blue house.
Yeah.
Love that thing.
And everybody's giving tips and sharing information and networking on Facebook.
Sponsor niche events.
Yes.
That's my deal.
Yes. Sponsoring niche events, but also just, those aren't just real estate related.
No.
So maybe it's a PTA thing. Maybe it's a charity event.
So not last year because COVID, but 2 years ago, y'all were there when at Margarita Ball.
Absolutely.
Where I bought 2 tables in the VIP section. Why? Because the table right next door was a small bank that I do business with. And what did I take away that night? You know, a really good client.
Nice. Well, and that's what you got to think.
I wasn't drinking. I didn't drink 2 years ago, which is, that was sad for me.
But I mean the club sports, charity, anything that you do in your regular life, kids are an easy way to enter into
Private school.
Yeah, a group of people that you have a common interest with. And that's the best way to build those relationships and sponsor those things.
But yeah, anything dealing with kids or any organization that, I know I don't attend church, but
a lot of people build a whole book of business on church.
Their church.
Yep. I mean, I would say I know a ton of people that's the reason that they pick a certain church and go to that church because they're like, I am going to get so much good business out
I
of
am
this.
not that deviant, but I do know a few people who do that.
Oh yeah.
I would never pass muster.
Yeah. Yeah.
One, I think I would set on fire as soon as I walked inside one of those buildings. I don't know. I would spontaneously combust. So
I choose most of the other options rather than do that.
Yeah,
so.
I choose Margarita Ball.
Yeah, right? That's more fun. And number 23, we're almost at 25. People don't go anywhere. So 23, divorce attorney.
Which I love these. And when we had that divorce attorney friend of yours on, that is such an underserved population, and they have so many leads. And
you could do a plethora of things with. So develop a relationship, or at the very, very least, go and introduce yourself to divorce attorneys and probate attorneys.
I'd like to find, they're hanging out somewhere.
Yep.
Where's the divorce attorney and probate attorney bars?
Well, I mean, they do have like their family law. They have regular happy hours.
I know they do.
And so really just getting in touch with the board, and because they host regular events, same as we do. They host like continuing education stuff. I'm sure there's plenty of opportunities to sponsor those, kind of like what happens whenever we're doing continuing education as realtors. You could go and sponsor that and maybe have a couple of minutes to introduce yourself, and I'll stick around. I'd love to meet some of y'all in person.
Yeah. 24.
Church, like we mentioned earlier, but pick pick a group. Like, this is something that you go and do. You have a book club. You like to play golf. There's all kinds of golf groups where there's like 20 or 30 people that golf on a Wednesday evening at your local country club. You know, you can have you can join a country club and just have a social membership and not play golf. Or you play pickleball or whatever the case may be. Tennis, yeah. Those type of groups, you're a knitter, you know, I mean, those type of groups, use them to your advantage, it doesn't mean you have to do something you don't enjoy. Pick something you enjoy and then just dive in.
Yeah, I think, and I think those are the best ways to find clients.
And the other one, I found a lot of clients, which Ryan, you'll love this one. One of the happy hour groups that I meet up with about every other Wednesday.
And here I've gone all day without comment on your lushness.
Yeah. Without trying to make a dig about being a lush. Yeah.
Do you need a drink? Is that what you're asking?
No.
There's a crown over
I'm
there.
sorry, but am I going to hire somebody who drinks or somebody who goes to church? I'm hiring the drinker.
Yeah. Anyway.
And number 25.
Number 25. Y'all lasted. Number 25 is get involved in your local government. You know, there are all types of volunteer positions where they want residents in, and that these are people that do other things, usually own other businesses. And then there's some that are just government employees, but they have different boards. They've got zoning boards. They've got all these, you know, whether it's a business board, it's some sort of zoning board, it's a construction, you know, utilities. There's all these different boards that they have, and they usually have to fill a couple of spaces or a couple of those spots with residents. And you get on those boards. The zoning board's a great one because now you have knowledge of what's about to happen or who's trying to come in and develop something. So now you have this knowledge that is not open in public yet. So that gives you an advantage as well. So try to think outside of the box.
Always. And when you're in there talking to everybody, remember to say, I'm a realtor. Do you have a house for sale? Do you know anybody who's looking to sell their house?
Absolutely. So that's 1 through 25. If y'all have any that you'd like to add, then by all means, add them. Let us know what you think.
In the comments.
Yeah, add them in the comments. Let us know what you think. Let us know if there's one in this list that works particularly well for you. We'd love to hear from you guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Invite all your friends to the Real Estate Divas channel. And I'm Jaylee Thompson with Texel Real Estate and Real Estate Reformation.
And I'm Kristen Gerst with Capricorn Mortgage. I am always looking for owner finance mortgage notes to buy, so send them to me.
Thanks for joining us.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.